Hello, welcome back. My name's Eve Preciado. Welcome back to Mexican Woke Girl. It's been a minute. I've actually been moving. I've been transitioning into a new space, which is why I have a little bit of a new setup here. I still have my loteria. Today we have La Sirena. This is who I have in my living room now. And I have an equipal, which if you're Mexican, you know what an equipal is. I'm in my new space. I am now in a place where I've wanted to live for a very long time, so I'm glad that I've been able to do that for myself. I know that we're in a pandemic, but I was still able to kind of situate myself in some place that is what I consider a dream come true. So I'm so grateful for all of the things that have led me here. So today I wanted to kind of get in and start talking a little bit about a topic that's been circling my head, and I wanted to kind of talk about it in a way that resonates with me and my experiences, because as you know, all of these videos and all of my topics resonate with me in particular. I'm not an expert or anything of that nature. More than anything, I'm just sharing with the world what I have learned based on my life, my experiences, and what has helped me really navigate and really assess accurately, and what has made me the most happy as I journey through life, and kind of live and really am doing so in a way that is meaningful to me. So today I'm going to get into this idea of talking about parents. So I'm blessed with having both of my parents. I know some people have guardians or people they consider parents, or stepmoms or stepdads, whatever it may be. So this topic is going to be in particular to anybody that has helped in raising you as an individual in this life. So anybody that helped when you were a child, that was there for you when you needed somebody, that was there for you, that you looked up to, that was guiding you, that gave you advice, that taught you right from wrong. So those people, sometimes growing up, I think that we view those people, in my particular case, my mom and dad, as people who just don't know what they're talking about. A lot of us kind of have estranged relationships with these people. A lot of us kind of grew up being a little bit rebellious and kind of going against what these people have to say. I can speak in my particular experience that when I grew up, I was always very opinionated, right? So I grew up in a very strict Mexican household. So my mom and dad were from Mexico. I am first generation. So they are from Colima, Mexico. And I was their first daughter, you know what I mean? And they had me here in California. And I think that my parents obviously did as best as they could to raise me, in a country that wasn't theirs, with a language that they didn't even know. And they kind of did the best to kind of teach me right from wrong, even if it may not fit the world that I was particularly living in, because it's like a whole nother country, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of you relate, where it's kind of like some of the rules that they imposed on me. It's like, Mom, like, what do you mean? Like, that's not what happens here, or things are a little bit different here. Or like high school, I remember in particular, was so funny, like for me to kind of tell them like, well, Mom, like dances are a thing, or going out to football games is a thing, or kind of, even dating. Like I kind of grew up in such a strict place that I didn't really have this kind of inclination to do a lot of these things, because I was terrified of what my parents thought, and because I was raised to kind of have a lot of fears based on what their fears were. So that's going to kind of lead into what I really want to focus on, which is, our parents, their traumas, the fact that these people who raised us are also people, and they're just individuals, and they all are people that were once children, that also had traumas, that also were raised a certain way, that also were led to believe certain things, that also grew and kind of became as they kind of went along, and it's taken me such a long time. I'm in my early 30s now, and I'm barely having these moments, these kind of humbling moments, where I'm able to kind of look at my mom and almost sympathize with her and be like, wow, Mom, like you were once younger than me now, and had me in this country that you weren't even from, and you did all of this, and you made sure that I had essentials, and you made sure that I was okay. And yet back when I remember, I still was so unappreciative of you. So I'm now having those moments where I've stepped back and started to see my parents as just people. And also with that, I've challenged myself to reestablish our relationships, as like a daughter and mother, or a daughter and father, and really asking them questions now on behalf of like, well, mom, like, why were you like that? Or mom, why did you tell me that? Or mom, why growing up did you not tell me these things that I really needed to know or hear? You know, that I think a lot of us growing up in Mexican households don't really grow up understanding a lot of the taboos and things, because it was just what it was. Like, I remember growing up and my mom was like, porque yo dije ya, you know, because I said so, and that's why we do things the way we do. And I used to be so opinionated. I can admit now here, you know, in this video and in this podcast, to just say like I was rezongona, you know, I talked back like no other. I was respectful. I was a good daughter. I've always been a good daughter, and I was always a rule follower, but I definitely always challenged the status quo. I was always like, but why? Like, mom, if you can just tell me why, I'll understand it. You're not making sense to me because you're not letting me know why you're doing that. And just kind of, I pushed back a lot, you know, and I remember challenging my parents in that aspect. And really, till this day, I still challenge my parents, you know, and I still question a lot of things because I feel like there's validity in questioning, you know, and I always say, like, I wouldn't question it if I fully understood it. You know? It's so interesting that now, as I'm coming to an age where I'm also now an adult, an age that my mom and I have had in common, which she was once my age and I'm now once her age, you know, so it's like, oh, wow, like, I get it, mom. And I think it's so funny because I remember growing up and my parents, or my mom in particular, really always saying, you know, un día, you know, when you have kids one day, you're going to understand it. Cuando tengas hijos, you know, you're going to get it. And you're going to know where I'm coming from. And you're going to know why I was so strict and protective of you, you know. But I obviously don't have kids, but I feel that my mom has been kind of waiting for that moment so that she could have a I told you so. So realize that. And instead of me obviously waiting to have kids, if you know, life does ever grant me some, then great. But if not, I wanted my mom to know that I understood where she was coming from. So recently I had a moment with her where I was like, you know, I sat with her, I went to go visit her and my dad, and I sat with her at the dinner table, and I was like, you know what, mom, I recently had this moment, this kind of thought process now that I'm kind of my age and really resonating, like, with a lot of things that are being an adult, you know. And I was like, I had a moment where I got so emotional thinking about you. So this is me telling my mom, you know, thinking about you, me really thinking, wow, my mom was 25, 26, had me, you know, and was out here and was like, my parents had a home, my parents were working, my parents were hustling, my parents were doing all of these things so that I could have everything I needed, you know. And I just had one of those moments with her where I was like, mom, I just want you to know that I understand, you know, and that I get it now. And that I think of you in that space and in that moment, and me being a little girl and not understanding. And I'm suddenly so empathetic of you as a woman and as an individual. It makes me a little bit emotional even thinking about it, because I remember seeing her face and just, she kind of did one of those, like, not expecting me to have those moments, that conversation with her, because again, my mom and I grew up with a little bit of this, like, bumping heads because we were so similar. We have like a very strong personality and very opinionated. My dad as well, you know, my parents are fantastic people, and just the way they're go-getters and they're leaders, and they're just, you know, they're those people, you know, and they had a daughter that challenged, but they challenged me back. And I'm so grateful, because I think had I not been raised in that kind of dynamic, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. You know, I was raised by amazing people, and I am now giving back in that sense, where I have committed my life, at least now when it comes to them and I, to really understand them, to really see my father as like a man who is more than just my father, you know, my mother as a woman who's beyond my mother, you know, and respecting them as solid individuals, and thinking like, wow, like, mom, I see it, you know, and speaking about their traumas, and even talking to my dad and talking about his traumas and things that hurt him as a child, or my mother, and really helping them understand that, and really helping them see self-love as something that's okay for them to give themselves, you know, and really helping them see relationships differently. Because my parents had nothing but just what they knew, and the boundaries that were set and things like that. Granted, I grew up in a home where super traditional, you know, my parents have been married for over 30 years, and my parents are the kind of people that if it's broken, you fix it. And I grew up in that kind of element, you know, where regardless of, they're not perfect. This is not a video for me to talk about how perfect my life is, because it's not perfect, you know. And my parents have had their ups and downs and their challenges, and I've seen them argue, and I've seen, you know, my mom go back and forth with my dad, and I've seen my dad battle, you know, having this problem with alcohol, you know. And I've seen my mom be that wife that's like, you know, hustling her butt off to work right next to this man, you know, and feel unappreciated. So I've seen it all. But one thing that I think was a constant that I admire, and I was able to tell them now, is that I always saw them make each other a choice. Like, they are each other's choice no matter what life throws at them. I now see my parents as these individuals that encompass like loyalty and trust and kindness and just humility and love and all of these things, you know, that I see them like be. It makes me emotional just thinking about them, you know. And I remember me being a kid or being a teenager, or even when I was going through my divorce or going through whatever I was going through, you know, really almost at one point resenting them, you know, and being really upset and being just like ungrateful, I think, at the time of what I had, and just really kind of wishing that I could have a place where they respected me. It's not that they didn't, it's just that they loved me so much that wanted nothing to harm me or to hurt me. And yet there I was, you know, putting myself through all these things. But it's so funny because just thinking back and forth now, I'm able to see the why behind why my parents did certain things, or why they were so strict even, or why they just didn't agree with a lot of the things that I thought to be okay when I was younger, you know. Granted, now they're extremely proud of everything I do, and they're extremely proud of me as a person, you know, and I can go and have these like dope connections with them. And now it's something that we laugh at, or we talk about, like, remember when we did that? And it's just like a funny thing now. Now it's like I'm more committed to just make sure that I understand them. And now we're having conversations of like where my mother even said, oh, it's gonna make me emotional talking about it. My mother had this thing where she's like, sorry if I just didn't know how to understand you. And we had this moment where she was crying about it, and it was kind of like this thing where it's like, well, how could she? You know, like, we were living in a country that she was foreign to, and I was living a youth and childhood that was very different from hers, and all she could really do is impose on me things that she thought were right based on what she was taught, you know. And I had a whole moment where I was like, you know what, Mom, like, it's not even about that now, because it's not about what you once did, or it's not about taking you back to a moment where you should have understood me, but now it's just knowing that you could still understand me, and that you and I can still connect now. So this is more than anything a PSA to everybody who has strange relationships with people who, you know, raised them or very much had a connection to. It could be anybody in your life. Very much like understanding. Try to understand that why, and knowing that it's never too late to repair anything, and it's never too late to really see why somebody did something. And really understand it, and really kind of talk to those people. Even if you're having like difficulty understanding, don't be afraid to even say, hey, Mom, Dad, Grandma, Tia, whoever, like, why did you do that? Or why did you treat me that way when you did? Because I didn't understand it then, and it made me feel this type of way. And now it's still something that I carry here, and it's something that's trickled into my relationships now. Because what I want to get at more than anything is that if we don't repair those relationships that really shaped us when we were growing up, or if we don't really assess or find the why, your relationships as an adult will continue to be a repetition of that. So this is more than anything that, you know, I wanted to really get on here and talk about how grateful I am of my perfectly imperfect family. This past weekend, you know, Thanksgiving, I was able to spend it with them, and I was so grateful to just have some simple moments with them. And I am now coming into this adulthood that I'm so in love with, and I am more than ecstatic and grateful to continue to like value my parents for who they are. And I'm so honored to have been raised by them. Had it not been for them, I wouldn't be this that I am sitting here in front of you. I wouldn't be Mexican Woke Girl. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was an episode that touches your heart in some sort of way. I really wanted to get this off my chest, and I figured that it would be a good episode to put out here. I know that I didn't expect to get this emotional. Great, here I am crying. But yeah, this is who I am. You know, I'm real, I'm natural, this is me. And I'm grateful and I'm thankful for everybody who watches, everybody who leaves me sweet comments, everybody who follows, whether it's on my main IG at Y Preciado or at Mexican Woke Girl or wherever you see me. You know, thank you. Thank you for genuinely feeling how genuine I am, and for genuinely listening, and for genuinely accepting me for who I am. I really appreciate all of you. I will leave you with that. Happy last month of 2020. Thank you. Bye-bye.